always hoped that Savages would be a return to the manic energy that Salvador and natural-born killers are possessed with. I mean, it's two pot-growing Americans trying to save their shared girlfriend from a vicious Mexican cartel. How can you not imagine Stone tapping into that wild side of his brain? Hell, it seemed like an open and shut case. A well-sized budget, a big studio behind it, a highly successful book to be adapted from, and a very established cast and crew. So, after waiting for it since it was first announced, I have finally seen Savages. And honestly, I don't think I've ever had such a mixed reaction to an Oliver Stone movie. Let's start with the good things, because there are many things to like about this movie, things that could even hark back to Oliver Stone's golden age. First off, the performances by most of the cast are great. The two Americans, Ben and Sean, are played by Aaron Johnson and Taylor Kitsch, respectively. They grow the best quality pot in the Western Hemisphere. Their business is balanced by Sean's violence and Ben's business skills and his pacifism. Both of these protagonists have to make us believe in their characters, their friendship towards each other, their love for O, and also their dilemma. And they do a great job contrasting each other while still giving us grounded performances. And since you'll probably ask, no, I did not see either of Kitsch's failed blockbusters. But if his performance in this is any indication, he should not be blamed for John Carter or Battleship's failures. And then there are also the more established names, including one name that I've always wanted to see work with Oliver Stone. In the 90s, Benicio del Toro was in a few movies that I've come to feel are some of the best movies ever made. And to finally see Del Toro in an Oliver Stone movie, that's just worth the ticket price in itself. Del Toro is the vicious enforcer of the cartel, led by the widowed tigress Elena, played by the one and only Salma Hayek. Hayek plays her character as a very strong and determined woman trying to survive, while Del Toro has rarely been so sadistic and repulsive as the bloody-minded enforcer, Lado. Del Toro and Hayek give the best performances in the movie as their characters, and we also get John Travolta, Damien Bashir, and Emile Hirsch as other well-acted supporting characters. Another thing I liked about Savages was the intensity. The writing based on Don Winslow's book was edited by Stone and Shane Salerno into a very good screenplay. The cinematography is also impressive, and the story leads to some very tense moments. We get scenes of vicious brutality as the cartel establishes why it needs to be feared, and we see how characters such as Ben go through serious ethical conflicts. How far does one go to protect oneself or their loved ones? This question is put to the test for almost all the characters of the movie. So with all that positive stuff, what didn't I like? Well, I didn't like O. Blake Lively does a good job playing O as a spaced-out, sex-loving California girl, so maybe it's just the character that I didn't like. Her narrations were either bad or downright ear poison, and her overall character is really hard to sympathize with at times. Now granted, a lot of terrible stuff happens to her, and she doesn't deserve them, but my sympathies to her were default rather than because I cared deeply about her character. In fact, it was more the dedication of the two men in her life that I subsequently cared for her. Also, they really hammer in the title of this movie in the screenplay and the dialogue, almost to excess. But then again, that's just what you get sometimes when it comes to Stone. But now for something that a lot of people, including myself, were completely jolted by when they were watching the movie in the theater. The ending. The ending seems to be something that a lot of people seem to unanimously hate, or somehow love. And while there's something about the ending that I would normally hate unconditionally, I'm a bit more perplexed about this one. Unlike what people are saying, the ending's twist doesn't make the ending conventional at all. There are a few aspects to Savage's ending that would normally never happen in a typical Hollywood movie. Hell, I actually liked how Stone decided to flaunt the way you would think this movie would end and give us something far less simple. But all the same, I can't quite put my full support behind this movie. I mean, I still think it's good, and if I had to give it a number out of 10, I would give it a 7. But it still doesn't quite match up to the kind of movie Oliver Stone used to make. There are definitely major signs of his classic filmmaking at work here, but a few things don't seem to work as well as they could have. In all honesty, though, the action works, the dialogue works for the most part, narrations aside, and the performances carry this movie completely. So there's several things to like about this movie, but there's a few things that will polarize a lot of audience members. As for the ending, well, I can see what Stone was going for, and I appreciate it, but I think the way he handled the whole thing will still piss a lot of people off. But in all honesty, polarizing his audience is something that Stone hasn't really been doing for a long time. And maybe that in itself is harking back to his old style.